Hello, welcome back to CNC Gaming Stream. It's been a minute since I've been on. I've been just in the tank, completely theory crafting, trying to figure my life out with this thing. Disclaimer, my gear right now is absolutely scuffed. It's not scuffed in the sense that it's just not good. I'm halfway between 3 builds right now because I'm testing things. I'm trying to find the best synergy, but the core of what I'm doing here, I wanted to show is ghost dance. I have been a Titan, and I have used Titan to be a monk, a caster, a summoner, a Thor, but I've done 20 different builds with the Titan because I think the Titan has the potential to do pretty much any build just based off of hulking form. I literally went all the way up until last weekend without even getting the rest of my ascendancy points because this is all I needed to just make 10 different builds. But that being said, I just wanted to delve deeper into what the Titan can, do better than the other classes, and that's where I want to start to focus. And the thing that it can do better than all the other classes, unarguably, is to stack reduced skill effect duration. Now, I went around on the internet and looked around, and there are some people using this tech. I like some of the things people are doing, but I just wanted to get into some of the things that I had thought up early on and just hadn't got around to testing. The big thing that put me on this path was ghost dance. I've been Titan so long, and I've felt squishy all the time, no matter what I did with it. You're a Titan, so you should be stacking life, like strength and life, duh. Yeah, it just never felt tanky, and if it did feel tanky, it felt like you were a wet noodle. So, I finally found this interaction where with fast forward and these nodes and all the way over here in BFE, you got these nodes, but this gets you a huge amount of skill effect reduction, a reduced skill effect duration that no other class in Ascendancy can achieve. And what that does is get your Ghost Dance procs down to 0.43 seconds. So unless you're standing on Ignite, because we're Chaos Inoculation, so you're not getting any of the poison or the bleed or anything else. So unless you're standing, on some ground or things are hitting absolutely ridiculously fast, and even then you're still able to usually just use a health potion through it, with the effect of eternal youth making your health potions there. And so when I was finished with this build, I had 5k energy shield, and my ghost dance was at 1500. And with 5k energy shield, 1500, a decent health you're next to immortal. Another good thing to do is to get, oh shoot, it's on my other boots, a huge amount of ignite duration reduction. You can get that from boots, and you can get it in the tree to pretty much almost make you to where you hardly take any damage, because that's kind of one of the bigger weaknesses, is being ignited will get around your ghost dance. There are a few effects that will randomly get you. I haven't been able to figure out what they are or put the time and effort into figuring out what they are, just because I've been focusing more on, okay, now I'm a tank. I actually feel like a tank. I can walk out into a T16 and let a mass of enemies just wail on me, and I can just stand there through most of it. And if it gets hairy, one potion is enough to just walk away. So now that I have that survivability, how do I get the damage? And so I've been exploring several different paths, and the one that took my attention the most at first, because I was using a monk and bow hybrid build thing that I was rocking, using the Widow Hail to use a quiver that reduces stun threshold, and with the because one of the things that technically the Titan can do better than anybody else, and this is really crazy, and I don't think anybody's really explored this, at least I couldn't find anybody, is the fact that the Titan can stack more increased quiver effect than any other class. So you can get your Widow Hail and those clusters, and even more importantly, just those clusters if you don't want to use Widow Hail, but this is so budget that it seemed legit. But I was using that to stun the target and then jump in with pretty much my favorite move in the game, is Staggering Palm, because once you can proc that stun, the Staggering Palm effect with Scatter Shot and Ricochet, you just literally use a level 5 Tempest Flurry to be a mobile delivery mechanism for a ranged monk and its physical damage, so you can do leech. And what I was doing is before I found this tech, is I was using the belt that, here, I think I have it in my inventory still. It allows you to, leech energy shield. That's somewhere in here, I don't know. My stuff's so unorganized while I'm doing this. But there's a belt that allows you to do it, basically whenever your ES, or your leech overcaps your life, it applies to your energy shield. And the problem with that is that it drains your energy shield 5% per second. And if you're Chaos Inoculation, that's going to get you down to 1 hit point. And also, big problem with it is it's bugged. I don't know why I can't find it. Maybe I sold it. I don't remember. It's bugged right now to where anytime you switch instances, it just erases your energy shield and resets it, and it's very detrimental if you go to a map and you teleport in and it takes a second to load, and then all of a sudden you are surrounded by enemies and you have 1 hit point, and so you're dead. And that's the reason, until they fixed that bug, that I went away from that build and tried to find a new way to be tanky, because that build was extremely tanky, because you're just spamming out just a mass of wind waves of physical damage and just regenerating that. And what you do is you stack exactly, I had the belt to where it was normally 5%. I had one that was corrupted down to 3.9%. And that 3.9% allowed me to have about a 4 to 4.5k, depending on my gear setup and resistances and stuff, energy shield, and I had enough life per second on my gear combined with Zealot's Oath to where my energy shield was always full, even though it was technically being drained by almost 4% per second. And so then all the leech on top of that, where you get leech on, well, this is just for attack speed, but normally you could put a glove on here with leech on your the skill gem for leech, and then all of a sudden you just are, as long as you're attacking, you're just immortal. But the problem with it was it was inconsistent with being able to stun the enemies without dying, and I like to play in groups, and so that made it harder. And by the time I realized that I had built all the way into that, and the problem with it was that glitch in the belt, and so I was like, I saw a good deal on 42% ingenuity for 3 freaking divine, and I had to scoop it up. And now I've been going down that silly path. And any of these builds can be done without this belt. Like, I literally had done all of them before I got it, and it just makes it a little bit easier to min-max everything. But back to what I'm doing now, I did want to mention the life leech thing, because that is going to be super powerful, I feel, in either the next league or whatever, or whenever they fix it, because it's just impossible to play it when you teleport into an instance and die because you're at 1 health, because it doesn't reset. And it's, I posted about it, and I had people talk, like, in the global chat, and I had people responding with, oh, it's just because you're taking so long to load into the next screen that your life pool is going, bottoming out. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I have more life per second in Zealot's Oath than it's draining. So I go to teleport into a map at 5k energy shield that's topped off and not dropping, and my teleportation takes 15 seconds, 10 seconds, 5 seconds, I don't know, depending on my latency or whatever, and it's at 0 when I get in there, and I'm dead. Not always dead, but like, it was enough to where, I lost 1 tower, and I said, well, I guess it's time to get ingenuity. That was basically what happened. Back to this situation. Ghost Dance, like I said, you can get a 5k energy pool, get this bad boy up to 1500, and you are just feeling good. But from that transition, I still kept my bow, and so I was like, what other things can I do with reduced skill duration? And the first one, and I didn't even actually play a build because I just didn't get it together before I figured out about Ember Fusillade. So the reduced, it allows you to get lightning bolts instantly from Stormcaller arrow. I don't know about anybody else, but I just loved that skill, and the fact that it took so long just felt bad. But if you're up in somebody's face because you're tanky and you're just shooting an enemy, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the scatter shot, you're not allowed to, hit the same enemy with the same projectile, but this is making it 3 different strikes, and they're all AoE, so if you're playing this as a, face tank, and you're just shooting something right in front of you, and it's getting hit by 3, you're basically tripling your damage, and, like, I know my damage is literally non-existent, but that's just because I'm not spec'd into building this right now at all. I've got a combination of spell power and melee gear on, so none of it's synergistic with this, but I did want to talk briefly about how awesome Stormcaller Arrow could be, and it actually doubles down. It's the reason why I'm thinking it might be the way that I go, because it doubles down with the Titan's ability to get this better than anybody, but also then get these. And I know that seems super spread out, but it's actually not even that. I mean, it is bad, but it's not impossible even by any means. I was actually, at the time, I hadn't gone to this tech yet, but I was still actually pathed up. I believe I was pathed up through here because I was testing mind over matter, but mainly I was getting this energy, this ES node and this ES node in order to be survivable. And then I was coming back down, and it was actually, I was going in, I had the Falcon technique on both, but then I used weapon set 1 just to do all of this, and then this is where it split off from here. So it would go down here and weapon set 2 to get all this. So it would go just a spot to get this, and then weapon set 1 would grab this and actually path down and grab all of the, oh sorry, these together. So weapon set 2 would grab this and this, and there's actually just enough points. If you're coming down that way, I'd have to, if anybody wants an actual guide for it, I will waste the bajillions of gold to try and help it, or I will make a planner for it. But you can have exactly enough weapon points to get all of these nodes and get this node, which is the most important one here, and then this, if it matters for your build, this, but basically to be able to path out to this specifically and all of these at one time, but then also be able to switch to another weapon swap and get all of these, and all of those. And what I was doing was, I can't remember, some other attack speed shenanigans in here, but oh no, it was all of these and the power charges here and the power charges wherever the heck they are right here. So now that we've talked a little bit about Stormcaller Arrow, I think this has a lot of potential, plus it's just cool, you know, I just love it. The thing that actually ended up catching my eye the most was Ember Fusillade, and now going into Ember Fusillade is where we're going to talk about something that was extremely important when transitioning to this tank build, was that you want fast forward on Ghost Dance, because otherwise your 0.43 is 0.61, and I've tested it with 0.61, and you just have to use pots because it's just a little bit too slow for whatever the attack speed is of most of the things that are hitting you. This is the sweet spot, under 0.5 seconds. I guess maybe it's just an average of what the attack speed of enemies that I've been fighting are, but that's what I felt. If you feel comfortable without this there, it is still very tanky. You just have to also rely on something else. I feel like with the tech, with the belt and the leech ES, if that was fixed, then those would be, you could run this. But since you can't, this is the answer. And I feel like this is the most underused helm in the game, but I have been using it on almost every build because I've done the math on it, and I was gonna release a video on it, and I just didn't get the time, but like the actual damage increase that you get from this helmet is mathematically stronger than most helmets that affect most builds, and people just aren't realizing it. And being able to use 2 copies of the same support gem and different skills is invaluable. Like, I could not stress enough how incredible it was to be able to use ricochet and scatter shot on my bow to stun everything, and then be able to have ricochet and scatter shot on my my palm, exploding palm, not exploding palm, staggering palm, and that led me into also this deck. This is the one thing that I think I kind of stumbled onto that most people haven't, was now with this, the Titan's ability to get the reduce in skill effect duration, and now being able to rock fast forward on multiple things. So now, oh, I've already got it equipped to Stormcaller Arrow, just kidding. So now, Ember Fusillade hits the fire, one click, 3 hits, wonderful, and then I doubled down and I got this Dusk Vigil because I got one of these really early on and I was just like, man, I love this. I want this to be viable. I want this to be a build. And it just, oh, I put that on the wrong one. Huh, LOL. I wanted it to be, what the heck's it? Oh yeah, I moved it. I wanted it to be viable so bad. And it just wasn't. But now I don't think, again, if somebody has done this before, definitely shout out to them, but I do not believe this has ever been done online. I couldn't find anybody doing it on any of the streaming stuff. Using the Titan's reduction, fast forward on Ember Fusillade, and using this so that you could get scattershot on this and on the one provided by this. So that makes it to where when you fire this bad boy off, you get 6 hits. And like if you run out of mana, you can literally just use that and you still get 4 hits. So that's already powerful by itself. Like, look at that. And they don't have a chance to build up because of fast forward. And then you can actually do some fancy footwork with this and the reduced cast speed in order to if you don't want to use fast forward on there, you don't want to use this helmet, you can still pull off a slight variation of this with reducing the cast speed so that these don't build up. And the other cool thing I figured out was Unleash is actually very cool with this. What are we doing here? Is this oh, duh. Wrong one. We don't need to mess with. Oh, and the reduction in cast speed helps here, I think, as well. No, we don't need to look at Ricochet at the moment. But what this allows is, because you are casting this, the way that this is worded, this is one of the big things I figured out. Unleash says when you've done 200% of the cast, you get 2 seals. 200% of the cast. Well, if you're getting 6 of them, all of a sudden, or 3 of them that fast, all of a sudden you get, watch the 2, and it's back to 2. That was one button click. One button click, it goes 0, 1, 2. And so this makes this really awesome skirmisher build where you just shoot and tap. You just tap a shot and you just are able to do it. And there's some cool, like, where you do this and you, like, do a dodge roll to get it to, like, whirlwind around you. It is just really cool with Unleash. It does less damage. So inevitably I took it off because I wanted to be able to just sit there and hammer, and then you build up all these charges that don't actually ever get unleashed. So ended up just doing the Ricochet instead of unleash, and that way you can just sit there and and it is just amazing. However, I don't know. I have not played any actual casters yet, so I don't know if this is just so wildly underpowered that nobody will play this variant. You know, I don't know, but it was cool. I was able to just mindlessly farm T15, 16 maps, just holding down one button, holding down Ember Fusillade. My mana management wasn't good because I didn't have Unity yet, Ingenuity yet, and so I would just hold this down, and then if I'd run out of mana, I'd just firebolt for literally, like, I mean, my mana regeneration, it is going down, and then if it were to, I'll just wait for a second, if it were to bottom out, because I'm hammering on a boss that's not dying very fast, or something that's like immune to fire or something, and then I run out of mana, and I just shoot this, and I'm still doing decent damage because of the procs, and look how fast the mana's going back up. And so, you know, then you're just back at it again. That was just kind of what I was messing with, and I did, you know, got a really sweet, not really sweet, but decent +3 to all skills amulet. You can get a really cheap gem to add skill levels to it. Or not gem, jewel. And it's just really cool. And the only thing with it is that it just didn't feel like what a tank should be doing. I didn't feel like I'm sitting there just hammering, you know, this with a bunch of people around me, and it wasn't able to, like, even with the ricochets, forking, I didn't mention, but I used fork on this one because you don't have to use fast forward, because it just casts at the same rate as this, so I would use fork on this, which was pretty cool. But the thing is that even with all that, you just don't feel like you're able to clear the things behind you, and so it just doesn't feel quite what it didn't feel exactly how I wanted it to play, but I know that there's a way to make it feel good where you're doing enough damage where that's not an issue. I just don't know how to scale spells at this point. Like, I don't know what to do, and I'm gonna delve into that a little bit, but first I wanted to go to the last, and it's ironic to me because I've done everything with a Titan except for be a Titan, and the closest thing to being a Titan was me realizing that the reduced reduction to skill times affected the earthquake.
I must train harder.
So where I'm missing my strength strength. I just have this equipped. Oh, is it this? Oh yeah, and I actually really like this thing. I found out that you could buy them very cheap. I bought this, I think, for, shoot, 20 EX, and it almost single-handedly solves, you know, resistances by itself. Like, you can just do one of each, and then I'll resist, and with its adding 10, and, like, just don't even worry about it, and then use your ingenuity to just triple down on, you know, offensive stats. That's a possibility. The only thing that this does do is it doesn't have as much evasion rating as an evasion, so what that ends up doing is it ends up taking Ghost Dance down substantially. I think I got it up to about 800 with this variant, and that felt pretty okay. Oh yeah, that's what it was, is I was not using this anymore because if I'm not using Ember Fusillade, I don't necessarily need the fast forward um, on the skills. I do actually want to get it. I just didn't want to respec my whole tree. So I just used this awesome helmet that I have that had good stats on it in order to just test out what this seemed like, and this just feels good. Let's see here. Let's see if I've got all the stuff I want into it. So I don't. Ideally you would have this helmet on so that you could keep fast forward in here, and that's what I'm going to work on today. And after I get done streaming, or maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll just continue, but I want to end the stream, kind of make this a pseudo guide that's not 2 hours long. Shoot, it might be, I don't know. But you can also already see that, like, I'm already getting up there in the life, and I can't remember. I think I need this strength. Not? No, okay, that's right. Yeah, this is the life I'm talking about. 5,000 ES with, you can rock Grim Feast. It's over here because I was messing with other stuff. But with Grim Feast, I am rocking Grim Feast and getting this up to like 800, and this looks like, I mean, this feels like a Titan. This is what I imagine being a Titan feels like. You're just sitting. I love that the skill actually moves. It actually feels a lot nicer when you're in the maps because you're clicking on an actual target, and so this weird thing where you're moving forward doesn't actually like feel as weird. You're just sitting there at like max movement basically. The thing that isn't, there we go, you can kind of see how, like, if you do it, but you can actually feel really quick doing this. I don't have movement speed on my boots. None of the boots that I own that are good have movement speed on it, because for 90% of the life of this character, he's had Tempest Flurry and Hands of Wisdom in action to just get more movement speed using Flurry. And even when I went to these other builds, I would just keep that as my backup just to move around the map faster. But I wasn't like fully stacked into it. It was just enough to get me what would equate to like 40% movement speed without having to worry about having that on my boots. And so I was able to get extremely, extremely cheap boots that solved so much of my build's problems. And I feel like other people are doing that now too, to some extent, because I switched my build like 4 times, and every time I would switch it, and like I went Chaos Inoculation, went not Chaos Inoculation, went back to Chaos Inoculation, I would buy boots for 5 Exalt, 10 Exalt, maybe. I think the most I ever spent on a pair of boots was 15, and I would add a fix to them, quality gem them, or socket them, and then use them for a little bit, and I'd switch my builds like I do almost every day, and I'd throw them back on, and they would sell for a divine, and it would just fund me changing my builds, like my boots and my weapons, and what was it that I was switching out a lot? My amulets. So boost amulet weapon, when I'd switch builds, I'd be able to basically get a 3 divine budget for whatever my next build is. And for some reason, I was just getting really lucky with picking up really low costed items, adding 1 or 2 exalts to them, or even just adding quality and sockets to them, and then turning around a week later, and I say a week, never a week, but turning around a few days later and selling them for a divine. It's been great with that. I actually am tapped on my resources right now because I spent all my divine, quote unquote. I cashed in a few of them for Exalted to be able to buy stuff, and then this, and now I'm basically at the lowest wealth I've had in a long time, but I felt like I've bought a lot of knowledge with it. Back to kind of looking at what this can do, I know that there's other things to explore with this reduction, skill speed reduction, but get yourself the core of Ghost Stance with the fast forward in it to get it down to 0.4 seconds, and then figure out your build. Like, you don't have to worry about survivability at that point anymore. Get yourself. I was even doing. The lowest I went was 2,500 energy shield, and that felt scary. But I never died. But I wouldn't recommend it. I think 3 is the minimum. And I felt comfortable with 4, and I feel immortal with 5. And you need to have either be built into just regenerating this with nodes, or I just like the pot with being able to regen it. It feels nice. And if you're the kind of person who is high risk, high reward, I absolutely and don't want to buy a fucking ingenuity belt, or just can't afford it. The budget alternative, I went through and totaled all the gear that I bought, all the gear, all of the ring quality upgrades on breach rings, anointing my amulets, getting new weapons, getting literally new every piece of gear with the belt that leeches energy shield. When I made that build, I built the entire build for. I had 169 nice exalts left on the 3 exalts that I made from the gear, or the 3 divines that I made from the gear. So you're talking, that was just a little over a 2 divine working budget, and it was really strong. And I was cruising through, T15 and 16 maps, just feeling immortal. Like, yeah, enemies would take 2 or 3 hits to kill, especially like elites, or mostly just elites. Most everything died in, 1 or 2 hits. But I was just cruising through those maps with that build. If anybody wants any more information on exactly how that build looks, I would be happy to make a guide. But I think this is kind of coming to an end. I've kind of talked about the things I wanted to talk about. I'm going to go all in onto one of these builds for my next leg of the journey. I just realized that my character, for the first time ever, actually looks pretty dope. So that's cool. And so I'm going to focus on one of these builds, build it out, and I might make a guide with that build. I love the idea of possibly being able to hybrid the Earthquake and the Fusillade build together. The only problem is with my current tree not being able to get to Avatar of Fire seems bad. But if I could find a way to path to Avatar of Fire with the Fusillade, I think that Fire Earthquake for your AoE clear, and then just bam for single target. I cannot confirm whether or not the ricochets from this like do trigger any of the like can ricochet off a wall and hit a boss. So like the single target might not be. I could just up the single target of these bolts specifically so much by losing scatter shot and ricochet, basically being able to pick up a 25 and 30% damage increase on those, and then I literally have no fix links, so the damage just with this little hybrid is what I really want to try, but I don't know if I'm going to have the budget to make that work, or most likely have enough points to make that work until I'm like level 95 or something, which I don't know if I ever will care. I talked about with my friend about how 90 is kind of the like I don't care about my experience anymore. This is the realistic achievable. Anyway, I don't want this guide or this guide, whatever this is, to be too long, so I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. But if you have any questions, hit me up on here, and I will try and talk with you through them. And I just appreciate anybody who took the time out of their day to look at this stuff. And I look forward to being able to bring you guys new tech. Don't sleep on. Last thing that I want to say is don't sleep on that helmet. That helmet that allows you to use multiple gems. Don't sleep on that bad boy. It is so good. Oh, right there in front of my face. Idiot. This bad boy, oh man, I just can't stress to you enough how many, like, I know I was trying to wrap this video up, but dang, being able to use, like, 2 clarities, if you're, like, stacking, Falcon Dive or whatever it is, Falcon Dive, being able to do 2 of the accuracy, ones, and, like, it just, being able to, you will not realize unless you're already a gemling how great this quality of life is, and the sacrifice you make from the helm slot isn't that terrible. So yeah, don't sleep on this, don't sleep on these skill reductions, and like, subscribe. I'm gonna try to get more content out in the next month, so I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Thanks for coming by. Peace out.